Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Dadvocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now on to this week's episode. Excited today to share with you a new collaboration between the Divorced Dadvocate and Dad Starting Over. You may remember and have heard Ralph DSO from Dad Starting Over on the podcast here several times, and he and I have started a new podcast that is called Dads Dating After Divorce. So we're working on this together, and what you're going to hear today is the first episode from that. It is going to be completely branded on its own, but we're both going to be sharing it to our respective communities, because we kind of work in the same realm of dads and divorced dads. So I hope that you enjoy it. The episode today is why divorced dads are a catch. Why divorced dads are a catch. You gentlemen are a catch. There's some specific reasons why you are, and why being a divorced dad gives you a couple of unique characteristics that play very well in the divorce world, depending upon how you handle your divorce. Before I turn that over to you, or turn over the episode to you, I just do want to remind you that the divorce quiz is still up at the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com under divorce quiz. Check it out. Great opportunity to gauge where you're at in your divorce compared to others who have gone through it. Just take about 10 minutes and give you some immediate results. And also, the Divorced Dadvocate app is out. Some awesome resources in there for you. Also, we're moving our events page to there, so you'll be able to check that out, and also get some notifications on when we've got new podcasts coming out and new blog posts, as well as some other group events, etc., workshops. So download that at thedivorcedadvocate.com under Get the App, or you can do it directly at the divorcedadvocateapp.com. And then one last request from you. If you could just pause right now and give us a star rating and or a review of the podcast. This helps us immensely in getting out the word. We have already grown to be in the top 10% of all podcasts, almost 3 million podcasts worldwide in just the 2 years that we've been doing this. And it's all been word of mouth. So if you could continue to help us with that, I would appreciate it. The other thing is, if you can support the show, that would be appreciated. We've got a Patreon link that is just below. Obviously, with developing things like the app, etc., that gets expensive, and we're trying to get the word out to as many people as possible. I've tried to avoid social media, but I believe that we're going to start working there in that realm. And so we're going to start trying to do some advertisements to get people to get involved with the podcast, listen to the podcast, also download the app, take the quiz, come to some of the meetings and workshops as well. Last thing, if you haven't gotten plugged into any of those, all that information is in the show notes below, or you can check things out at the Divorced Dadvocate, thedivorcedadvocate.com, and find any resource that you need there, and contact me directly if you need. So please get plugged in, take advantage of all of these resources, and please help us to grow this show, whether you're sharing it or helping us financially. Very much appreciated. So here now is the inaugural episode of Dads Dating After Divorce, a collaboration between Dad Starting Over and the Divorced Dadvocate. I really hope you enjoy it. Take care and God bless.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had. personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello and welcome to the Dad's Dating After Divorce podcast. I am Jude Sandoval, the creator of the Divorced Dadvocate podcast and community. And my friend and colleague here is...
My name is Ralph, but I go by the pen name DSO. I'm the author of several books, including the popular The Dead Bedroom Fix and founder of dadstartingover.com and the DSO fraternity, our members only group.
And DSO stands for?
Dad Starting Over.
Dad Starting Over. Right. Awesome. And so Ralph and I, just give you some background about each one of us. We have collaborated many times over the past couple of years in kind of our respective communities are working with dads who are going through divorce. And so I recently contacted Ralph and said, hey, I think there's a real big need. I've been getting a lot of people that have been talking about, how do I start dating after divorce as a dad? And I know Ralph has done that. Both Ralph and I are divorced, which is, we'll tell a little bit about our stories here in just a little bit, but which has led us to developing the work that we've been working on and developing with divorcing dads and dads, not just dads, but divorcing men's work that includes dads, all kinds of what we were discussing, Ralph, just before, just the myriad of things that go into all of this. And so Ralph agreed kindly for us to collaborate on this and start this Dad's Dating After Divorce podcast. And so the first thing we wanted to do and start with was an episode about why you as a dad dating after divorce, why you're a catch. And so, Ralph, I'll just throw this out there. The reason I came up with this episode is I was meeting with a guy this week and he's going through his divorce and he said he was at work and he opened up, which sometimes is hard, right? To open up to people about your divorce and going through it. But he opened up to a guy at work and said, I'm going through a divorce. And he leaned into him and he basically said, well, congratulations, you're like a used car now, which I thought was awful because I don't feel that that's necessarily true.
No.
That's just, and then to make it worse, he turned around and he pointed out some not incredibly attractive woman, and he said, that's what you've got to look forward to dating now. And and it's like just
nice.
Smash the guy's complete complete hope for something that could be positive and beneficial after his divorce, as if divorce isn't already challenging, difficult enough to go through to just squash all of his. So but so that's what gave me the topic idea for everybody listening today. But before we get into it and kind of talk about why the divorced dads are catches, let's if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background and your community and what brought you to this and why why you're an expert in helping dads, which you are.
Well, briefly, about 10 years ago, I was married and had 3 children, the youngest of which was just over a year of age. And that's when I discovered infidelity on my wife's part, my now ex-wife's part. And I went through a divorce, which was surprisingly traumatic for me as a dude. And that kind of opened my eyes to, oh man, I'm not as tough as I thought I was. I got some issues here. And in doing so, went to therapists who in turn, kudos to her, said, dude, you need to be in touch with more men in your life. You're like every other dude I talk to. You don't talk to men. You've cut all friends out of your life. All you guys just worry about your kids and your job and your wife, and that's it. And she gave me the name of a dude and said, here's his name and number, contact him. He's been waiting to talk to you. He's the exact same situation you're in, which was that was my first eye opener of, oh my God, all these stories are the same. And spoke to that guy and he opened my mind, or opened my eyes to, there's a whole online world of guys in your shoes. Go talk to them. And that really springboarded me into, I kind of enjoy talking about this stuff, getting help from other dudes, taking what I've learned and helping other guys. And I started a website, basically a blog called dadstartingover.com.
Right.
I was lucky enough that was available. And started writing, and like every other blog, nobody reads this stupid thing. It was just a form of therapy for me, like an online diary.
Right.
And then I would write, anytime I wrote anything about sex and marriage, Like, here are my thoughts on what I experienced going through my first marriage, and sex wasn't the greatest thing in the world. And here in the dating world, what I've experienced. And I had done that for several years, and then met a new woman who in turn became my fiance. And then we got married. But through all that, I'm like, wow, why is this experience just so night and day different from my first? And what can I learn from this? And so I wrote a little bit on it, and those got some hits, those articles. And eventually somebody says, you need to write a book about this. I really like your point of view on this. So I did. And that was a book called The Dead Bedroom Fix, which eventually came out with a second version in 2020. And it's been a pretty good success. And I took from that success and all the eyeballs up now on my website and everybody emailing me and stuff, I created a members group, and we've kind of taken on from there. I have coaches working for me. We have almost 900 dudes from around the world in the group, and it's been wonderful. We get together and meet in person, and we have live meetings on Zoom, all kinds of neat stuff.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Jude with a quick reminder about the Divorce Dadvocate Foundation for Fathers, which is our nonprofit that helps dads through divorce with legal education, free or reduced cost coaching, and mental health resources. If you own a business or know someone who does, there's an easy way to help by connecting credit card processing through our partner program. Part of the fees go straight to the foundation with no added cost to the business, and 98% of businesses are actually able to save money on their processing fees. It's a win-win. So if you know a business that accepts credit cards, get them in touch with me by sending a warm introduction email to jude@thedivorcedadvocate.com or give me a call directly at 720-255-1021. Yeah, that's fantastic, and your community is absolutely amazing. I encourage anybody listening to get involved with that as well. And so I would say that's all a lot, but one of the biggest things that I feel is important is that you have successfully traversed dating after divorce as a dad, found somebody, and now are in a happy, successful marriage, which is really, really fantastic and phenomenal, because as we'll probably unfold and unravel and dive deep into over coming episodes, is there are a lot of challenges that go into that. And my experience, so my experience is I was divorced. My divorcery was July 1st. So it's been 9 years, and I have not been successful in finding somebody and remarrying. I am a firm believer in marriage. I was married for 11 years. I have 3 daughters who are 16, 14, and 12 now, who are 6, 4, and 2 at the time that we started the whole divorce process. And similar to your experience, it was tremendously difficult and challenging going through that process. And former Division I athlete and high achiever, successful business owner, and man, I'll tell you, divorce kicked my ass, right? Because it's not anything that you ever are trained to know and understand, to hopefully go through more than once. And like going through anything the first time or doing anything the first time, you're just not good at it. And that's kind of like, that's the whole premise here is dating, dads dating after divorce. You just don't know what you don't know. And so hopefully we're going to be able to shed some light on that between our respective communities, the input that we get from the guys every single day and being immersed in this, and then also some of the feedback from your success and some of the feedback from my colossal failures over the 9 years of dating, which I'll hopefully share slowly. I don't want to scare anybody off right away. So that's why we're starting with this topic today, which is why you are a catch as a divorced dad. And so I know I've got some ideas, but maybe share with us a little bit about why you feel in your dating life, what you brought as a positive to to the dating world and to somebody when you were going through that process with your wife.
I think a good way to frame this, or a good place to start, is with that doofus who told your friend, "Look what you're in for." Why would he say that? that is just, that's kind of a microcosm or a perfect example of a mindset that you see in a lot of different aspects of life. I run my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. Can you guess what percentage of people tell me, yeah, that's going to fail.
Right.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's awful. Why would you do that? Why not get a regular paycheck? And yeah, wow, Mr. Dreamer. Like, yeah, right. Like that's going to work. Same kind of mindset with that guy. Like, you know what you're in for? And look at this slob over here. Well, why is that? Because they're basically sharing their perspective on this and their experience in life. And they got kicked in the teeth a few times. That guy's had no luck with women. So he's telling you that you ain't going to have any luck with women. A healthier mindset from that one doofus guy would have been, I haven't had any luck, but dude, you got a good head on your shoulders. You're a good dude. You'll be all right. Or you'll probably be all right. It's rough out there, but you'll be okay. I think it's a healthier way of looking at it.
Yeah. Let me just comment on that.
Yeah, please.
Because that was, for me, that was kind of an aha in this whole post-divorce process for me. And I made I made lots of mistakes, as will be revealed as we talk. But when I finally started to look at those mistakes as working for me and not against me, that my life, like, all of these experiences were working for me, and like life in general was happening for me and not against me, really things started to change. And even failed relationships or things not going well with my ex, et cetera. Taking that mindset what you just described, which is what can I learn from this? What am I supposed to learn from this to be successful in the future? Kind of like you talked about being a business owner. It's kind of a business philosophy. If you're not getting the result you wanted, what are you working backwards? What do you need to change? And what feedback do you need in order to make that change to get the result or the intention that you're setting? So I love that fact in that point.
In keeping with the business analogy, at the most basic level, you're putting a product on the market. You say, market, what do you think? And for a lot of men that I talk to, the market comes back with crickets, nothing. And their initial reaction is, well, there's nothing out there. And so, that's one way of looking at it. Another way to look at it is kind of point the magnifying glass at yourself and say, well, what are you providing out there? And a lot of these men, they go out with what I call in my writings, kind of this provider suit of, look at me, I got a great job. I take really good care of my kiddos. That's about it. Isn't that enough, world? Here you go. And a lot of what they found is that their market is responding back with a big yawn, because their market is saying, I'm a divorced woman myself, 30, 40, 50 some years of age. I just left a man like that. Those are great qualities and all. It's wonderful that you do that. Pat you on the head. Good job. But I want some excitement. I want some fun. What do you got in that realm? Yeah. And when you ask those guys, they're like, well, shit, I don't know. I haven't really done much in the excitement and fun world for the last so many decades. I've been busy with job and kids, and now this divorce. So maybe it's a little bit of reinvention needed there.
Right.
The more insidious, for lack of a better term, deeper thing is what's going on, between your ears. A lot of men have a lot of trauma in their life that dates back pre-divorce, a lot of kid stuff that they bring to the table, and a lot of codependency and neediness. That frankly, if you are in front of a woman who has a good head on her shoulders, after about 5-10 minutes of meeting you, she can sniff that out right away, which is why these women get wide-eyed and say, well, it was really nice meeting you, John, and take care. And he's like, well, what the hell? And I said, well, you went in right away with some really needy behavior unbeknownst to you. And he's like, I had no idea. That's just been my script all my life. So a lot of different ways in which to explain why exactly the dating world isn't working as well as it should for your average Joe out there. While some guys go out there in the dating world and oh my, they're like a kid in a candy store. Yeah. Like, dude, I had 7 dates last week. And
that was me. Right. Yeah.
Well, I want to go back to a point you made previously, and I'll challenge you on this. Is your sole definition of success within the dating world the end game of a long-term relationship or marriage? In other words, if I looked in the magnifying or the crystal ball, and I said, I can see into the future, and dude, it ain't happening.
Yeah. Well,
next 30, 40 years of dating, it ain't happening. You're just going to jump from woman to woman to woman. Does that make you go, oof? Do you dread that and say, that doesn't sound pleasurable at all?
No, because I have intentions, but reaching those intentions are not, it's not just a linear path, right? So going through this process and knowing that from each of these experiences, maybe I'm moving closer to my intention. Maybe that intention happens, maybe it's not. It's kind of like the development of our respective businesses. Like I had an intention around what I originally wanted to do. It was masculine development. Well, I'm still doing that, but like it's very specific and a very different than what I initially believed my business to be. So that's kind of the mindset that I take into dating as well. I still have an intention. I would like to, I believe in marriage. I would like to have blended family. I would like to do that. But hey, I can't force that if it's not potentially in the cards, or it's not working to where it's gonna happen, or I've not developed to the point that is something that's going to be feasible. So that's the long answer to no. Like I don't dread it. It's more about, for me, the journey than it is the destination.
Good. Yeah. So so many men go in with that because divorce is such a traumatic thing. And one of the quickest ways to stop the bleeding is to go ahead and replace with another human Band-Aid called another wife. And
exactly.
There's a lot of guys that jump into relationships that are pretty toxic right away, but hey, at least I got a wife out of it. And then they're right back where they were before with the previous toxic relationship. And they wonder why. So you jumped a little bit too fast into that. Why not just have fun?
Exactly. Well, and I did that exact thing, started dating during my divorce, which was not a really good idea. I had not done the work.
Yeah.
Right. Had not paid attention to what those dynamics are. And you said it about getting into a similar relationship, and then I got into another similar relationship, and then another until I figured out the common denominator here is not the women out there. And I think that's maybe the biggest point we can make it about right now is there's got to be self-reflection. Otherwise you're going to perpetuate and relive the same experience you had in your marriage. And I don't know about you, but I didn't want that. And I think anybody that's listening probably doesn't want that as well, if there's a reason why you're no longer married to your ex. So maybe pay attention first to what you've got going on and what we bring to the table first, so that you don't, like you said, a healthy woman is going to sniff that out in a heartbeat and just be like, see you later. I don't care what great traits you have in being a provider. That may have been what 100, 200 years ago, just the basic necessities around being a good mate or a good husband. But now that's completely changed and completely shifted. Like you said, being able to be fun, being somebody that is deeper, has more understanding of your masculinity and how that works in the world, how that works in the dynamic with the relationship with her. There's so much more that goes into that.
Yeah. There's a very kind of scary but interesting big picture phenomenon at play here, which is the sexual dynamics, whatever you want to call it, between men and women. It's going through a pretty drastic shift here. And a lot of men are still playing by a very old playbook. Yes. And the old timey way of looking at it was, looking at my providery traits. Isn't that enough? Yeah, good enough, because I need you to survive, Mr. Man. Yay, everything works great. We're together and we have so many kids and great grandkids. Well, when that goes away, what's left? And there's the old Pareto principle at play, which affects a lot of different things in life. And oh my gosh, is it so prevalent in the dating world, or in the sexual marketplace, if you want to use that old term, which is a small percentage of people in a variety of the Pareto principle is basically like, I'm trying to see how best to succinctly describe it. 20% of people get 80% of the results, or something to that effect.
Exactly.
So I always like to visualize it in form of like a pyramid, the tippy top of the pyramid. Very few people can fit at the tippy top, but I'll be damned if they don't get most of the rewards. Yes. And the rest of us are slowly in the middle. And then the base, which is the big part of it, doesn't get a whole lot of much of anything. And the doofus, I keep calling him the doofus at the beginning, he's at the bottom of the pyramid. And he's like, it really sucks down here, dude. This is what you're in for. The point is that you can claw, scrape, and elbow your way to get to the top or near the top. And that's where you'll notice, oh, wow, it looks a hell of a lot different up here. Right. So, in keeping with the theme of this show, which is men are a catch, what we're saying basically is, as you get closer to the top of that pyramid, oh my gosh, are you a catch? And oh my gosh, does the scenery change big time.
Exactly.
And the world is your oyster, basically.
Yep. And for those that aren't familiar with the Pareto theory, that's across life. That's across
it's a
work.
universal concept.
It's a universal concept. That's across everything that 20% get or accomplish, achieve 80% of the results. So exactly like what you're saying, if you're not pushing yourself, if you're not striving and making the effort to move up to that level, then yeah, you're going to be the doofus that is just bitching and complaining and moaning and unhappy and not getting the results that that you want. Again, it goes back. If you're not getting the results that you want, you need to look internally and see what you need to do to make some changes.
And I have a lot of guys in my group who come from middle of nowhere, middle America and stuff like that. And they're like, I'm in a town of 500 people. You know, good luck trying to find it. Okay, you got a point. Yeah,
sure.
Jump in your car or get on an airplane and go see the world, for goodness sakes. And that's one thing, but that doesn't represent the majority, I would think, by any stretch. But you're right. Look internally. Where are some of the not so good things that you're bringing to the table in terms of this new marketplace, if we want to call it that? What's going on out there? This is the new game. You have to play by the new rules. Playing by your old rules ain't going to cut it anymore. Playing by your old rules is Mr. Provider-y married dude. Sorry, my man.
And I also want to point out that I don't feel like we're diminishing the protector provider idea and how that is biologically wired into us as masculine men. We're not saying that. We're not saying that that's bad. It's not, and we're not saying that it's bad to be a protector or provider. We're just saying that just leading with that, if that's all you're offering out there, it's just not going to do it, because the world is a different place.
Yeah, putting all your eggs into that basket, it ain't going to cut it.
Exactly.
One of my points is that a relationship built on provider points alone is not enough. It's just not. You got to bring more to the table. Got to be Mr. Sexy, Mr. Fun, Mr. All that stuff. You got to work on yourself. So let's play then, for sake of the title of this, let's play pretend and say he's done all the work.
Yep.
He's therapy. He's taken time for himself. He's worked on himself physically, mentally, and he's, as far as all his female platonic friends that he's talked to, they're all like, oh my gosh, dude, you got it going on. You're going to go out there and kill. And he throws himself out there. What can he expect? And is he ready for it? Because it can be a little, I've talked to some men who do check all those boxes. They put themselves out there, and the rewards are so abundant for them that it's actually a bit alarming for them. And it's actually an eye-opener for them of, oh my, this is kind of the real world. This is how it was for all those other dudes that I've known, all those player guys, whatever, Mr. Playboy, whatever you want to call it. Right. I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I like casual sexual relationships. Sure. I don't know if I like one night stands, picking up a gal at a bar and taking it. This just doesn't feel right. That was personally something that I struggle with. Not that I was ever Mr. Player. Let's not go there. I understand my own limitations, but it was such that, this is interesting, my brokenness early in my dating phase, dated way too early, but for whatever reason, my brokenness and erratic kind of behavior attracted women to me that were kind of easy.
Yes.
And the fact that I was able to get to bed with these women so easily was kind of troubling to me and downright emotional. I went from being a dad, father, with wife, and everything's laid out for the next so many decades, to suddenly in bed with some strange woman who I just met. Yes. Like, what the hell am I doing here? What is this? What's going on? So I don't know what am I getting at with that is, be careful what you wish for, I guess. And, and if you are in fact not of the mindset of casual dating, sex is the Shangri-La, that's my end game, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. No one's, putting a gun to your head saying you have to go out and do this, but realize, I guess, the story is here, realize that that's the world out there right now. And that is, you're going to run into a lot of people with that mindset.
Well, and that was almost shocking to me as well, having been out of the dating scene for what, almost 13 years. after my divorce, and jumping right in and seeing and just having this be in my estimation, it's just a sexual free for all, right? There's women that are acting like men traditionally did around sexuality, right? That it's out there and it's free and it's open. And maybe that's an episode in the future. We talk about that and its implications. But what I would like to say to that is, if you are somebody that you just described, you've done the work and you know what you're bringing to this, that you are a catch, and there's a lot of reasons why you are a catch, and your experience as a dad who's gone through and endured divorce and has persevered, and then has created a life on the other side of it, that's creating an intention around what it is and how you want to date is incredibly important, so that you're not falling into that. And I see, so I made this mistake. I made it basically, Ralph. I've made every mistake, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to drop some pearls, warn, because it's very heartbreaking, especially if you, like you said in the beginning, you're wanting something that you had. And for me, that I just loved family, and I loved being in a family environment and having that with my daughters and all that, and just like what I immediately wanted to do. But there was a reason why I failed the first time, and there was so much work that I needed to do in the interim, and obviously still, because I have not found that and have not been able to get to that achieve that intention. But I still continue to look at the feedback, right? And so creating that intention about what you want. And when I say intention, if your intention is to go out and you want to have some sexual experiences because that is not has something that you've had, then that's okay too. Like that's not comfortable for me anymore. That's not my intention. That doesn't move me towards my intention. And my life is, I'm trying to develop to be intentional about getting there, right? Your actions all will either get you towards what you're intending, or they'll move you away from that. And for me, at this point, it moves me away. But that's not to say that that's not something positive for the dads dating out there, that they might need to have that sexual connection, or even if it's just to start dating and knowing that you just want to get out there and get some attention. Right? Just build up some confidence in being able to talk with and go out on a date with somebody.
Yeah. There is a school of thought that the best way to learn something is just to jump into the deep end of the pool and, start swimming. Which that absolutely has some value. That's what I did. And there was failure and there was emotional, this and that. But in the end, I came out going, it wasn't so bad. And what can I learn from this? What can I learn from that? But for some men that I've spoken to, they're at such a point, we're going back again to, are you ready emotionally or mentally or not for this? That they're at such a point where they get a little glimmer of success and they jump right into, not so good codependent behavior and attach themselves to somebody. Yeah. And, oh man, they get their heart broken and they get crushed. And a lot of men report, wow, why is it that my first post-divorce breakup actually hurts worse than what I experienced in the divorce? And I always say, well, because it was almost as if the universe told you, look up, we know you went through hell with that divorce thing. Here you go. Here's Miss Perfect. And the guy's like, I can't believe this happened. I found Mrs. Perfect, and it's only been like a month and a half since my divorce. This is great. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe. This is wonderful. And they just ignore every red flag in the book and continue marching on because I found Miss Perfect. And then it ends horribly, catches her with some other man or finds out she's on drugs, whatever it may be. And then he's like, wow, the universe just pulled the rug out from under me. Or just pointed at me and said, psych, we were just joking and you're right back to where you were before. And it they lose all hope. And to some men, just the thought of that is potentially a possibility out there. I'm going to lose and get heartbroken all over again. No, thank you. And they remove themselves from the dating pool completely. That's no way to go through life. If in fact you find that the trauma of that is such that you can't bear it anymore and it drives you to near suicide or whatever it may be, you need to get some help with that. Again, going back to, for some people, the proper route is to go in there, get heartbroken, get a couple of drinks thrown in your face, get slapped at a bar, whatever it may be, and then eventually you go, doesn't hurt so much anymore. And then that's when you find, oh, wow, I've turned the corner and things are all right. I shared with another podcast that I did that it seemed that a real shift for me, for whatever reason, this was my shift, was the moment when I wasn't even hitting on a woman, but I just said something to her that was kind of in a friendly term. And we were at some place that was kind of loud and I was kind of yelling. I said, blah, 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 blah. And she turned to me and she just looked at me and said something like, honey, you're a little too old and you're a little too bald. My reaction was like, holy shit, that was awesome. Because what a slam, right? It was so over the top bad that it was hilarious. And then my initial reaction was like, Jesus, well, all right. And I was like, well, the good news is that there's a lot of guys, younger guys here with hair, so you're in good luck. And she just laughed too. And we literally shook hands and went our separate way. And I remember like, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
That's it. You know,
right.
I just got basically verbally slapped in the face with you're too old and you're ugly, or what by her criteria. And I just took it as, all right. What else? Yeah.
To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.